All right, Spartan fans, we are live. It's Guy Danoff here, and we are in Coach B's office for the very special edition of the Spartan Signing Day Show special. And Coach, the last time I saw you, it happened to be November 16th, a tough loss against a very high-ranked banker team. And here we are. It's National Signing Day, and obviously we've got 36 athletes we're going to highlight. And I think it's pretty funny that I got my phone on and the broadcast is coming through my phone. So sorry for that little technical interruption. But, Coach, this is a big day for all these young people in their lives. And, if you could maybe set the tone of what it's been like since November. I know you've been recruiting, since the fall. Yeah. But what's it been like?
Well, like every year, we talk about just the chaos that becomes recruiting season. So you finish one season, dive right into the next season. And then it feels like, you go into the third season of the year, which is, spring football and that kind of stuff.
Right.
So it's a lot of work. Obviously, our staff has done a great job. Yep. Excited to announce the guys that we have joining us officially today. But, it's a whirlwind, right? I mean, you dive in really middle of November. At the time, it feels like February is a long way away.
Right,
before you know it, it's right there. So, it's always an exciting day when we get to announce the next class. But right. I know it's just as exciting for these guys who, for a lot of them have worked a whole lot of time and put in a lot of effort and hours to reach the goal and dream of playing college football. And today they make it official.
Absolutely. So what we're going to do to start with just a little differently, we actually are going to get one of our students involved, and he happens to be Jackson Devers. When we Jackson to the broadcast right now. Jackson, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
We are great. So Jackson, for those of you who may not know, he happens to be a senior broadcast media major here at Missouri Baptist, but he also serves as the MBU timeline reporter and sometimes anchor. Jackson, we are so excited that you're representing the students and getting some of this content that we're going to talk about, certainly the class of 2025. But I know you got a few questions for coaches, so why don't you fire away?
I do, and thank you for letting me join. So, Coach, just talk a bit about last season. Last season, I've been here 4 years. Last season was a very exciting season as a student. I got to see the guys perform to their best. I'm personal friends with some of them, and getting to talk to them in and out of game time, see how they're doing. They were excited for how the year was and just how they were hoping it was going to go. And just with that great season and our best one so far. Now, with this year's incoming students, we just had signing day today. How do you feel about these new players?
Well, I'm excited about this group. This is as you kind of mentioned, coming off of the heels of our best season, first winning season, a lot of the things that these guys put in last year, we were really hoping that would kind of propel us and catapult us into the offseason, into recruiting. And I think it did. I think when you combine last year with some of the changes that the administration has made with Jeff Ford being our new athletic director, working with Dr. Ross and the overall administration, we've gotten a little bit extra scholarship money support in that area. And it's made a difference over the last 2 years, especially. I think that's one big thing that we can just really kind of lean back on. But I'm excited about this group. I think there's going to be some really good playmakers. We had to fill some holes, but although there's still some things we're still kind of working towards with a few guys, I think by and large, this is a really good class that we can stack on the other ones that we've had over the last 3 or 4 years.
Oh, yeah. And I can speak to you bringing in some great students. I remember last year as preseason was going on, I lived with some football players, and some of them are freshmen. And some of these freshmen are some of the hardest workers I've seen as far as incoming students go before the season. I never saw them without their playbook. If they weren't in practice, they had their playbook. So I can tell you some of your players who are new to this team this year, really hard workers, and it shows that what you guys put on the field here in the room as a team, it goes to beyond that, and we got to see that in the dorms, and that was really cool to see. And with what's coming in next year, one thing I the athletics office is that on top of your coaching abilities, one of your absolute big talents and skills is bringing in the big numbers. And some people are like, we don't know how he does it because we've not met any other coaches who can quite do that. So I'm not going to necessarily ask you for all your secrets, but how do you bring in as many players as you do?
Well, it starts with our staff. Our staff does a tremendous job, and it's a lot of work. I know a lot of times people, and I don't want to come across because we're very humbled to have some assistant coaches and some staff. I know there's a lot of coaches that it's kind of a one-man show, and that puts a lot of pressure on them. But our staff, for the numbers that we bring in, isn't like tremendously, overwhelming, but they work extremely hard. They do a tremendous job of developing relationships with these guys. They do a tremendous job of getting guys on campus. That's something we really believe in. I think if you go back to our 5 or 6 home games, we had a game day visit where we had recruits up every single week that we had a home game. And then we had 7 or 8 visits during the December and January months on the weekends. And, that takes a lot of time for our staff. They're up here all day on Saturday. We're hosting guys. But we really feel like if we can get guys on campus, that it really increases our chance of signing them. And then it also allows us to really get to know them. So we know what type of guy we're bringing into the university and into our program. We're really big on making sure that those guys fit what we're looking for. And they do a great job on that. I think if you were to total it all up, that we probably had, if you count the game day visits and winter visits, we probably had 225 or more recruits on campus. And, that's a big number, but it takes a big number to be able to announce 36 guys on one day. And obviously we're not done. But we have a very good process of how we go about bringing guys on campus and how we go about signing them. We stick to the game plan, so to speak, and our staff works their tails off.
Well, thank you for that. And we see that the rest of the school sees it, and we appreciate that work because the football team helps us all out a lot as far as community, and some of these guys are big parts of that. Now, next up, we've got people graduating. For instance, Lionel Banks, he's a friend. I've seen how hard he works and how much he means to the team. And with that, you've got a lot of guys getting ready. They're moving up and some are moving on. So what roles are you looking to be filled on the team this year? What are these new guys filling up?
Yeah, it's a great question. We have a lot of production that we've got to fill, and I think a lot of that production, Spartan fans would recognize the names Raekwon Ramsey and Giovanni Sains, 2 defensive linemen that had tremendous careers. So we've got some guys here that we really need to step up in those situations. But defensive line, just adding depth there is a point of emphasis. The secondary is a point of emphasis because we've got to fill some holes, losing Rondale Messer. So, there's some and then Zepp Velder, 2 guys who played a lot over their careers. Jordan Simpson, Jordan broke all kinds of records over his 2 years here. And then, with Cooper Brown graduating and opting not to come back for his 4th year, that left Grant Gibson as our lone quarterback going into spring. So that was an area that we really felt like we needed to get some competition in that room and get some guys in that room. I think you'll see as we go through this that we were able to do that. We were able to bring a couple guys in at semester that we're excited about, but there's some guys in this class at quarterback that we're excited about. One of the best things I think is that we have those holes to fill, but when you had the last 2 classes and we get a lot of these guys back, we're looking at building depth and building for the future. And that's what we need. I think one of the things we say in recruiting is if we're playing too many freshmen, and we tell the freshmen this, like, we want you to come in and work to compete for a starting job. But if we're starting every one of these guys, we're not going to be a very good football team. We've got to have those older veteran guys, which we have, and we've been able to get over the last couple of years.
Absolutely. And with that, you've got your veterans coming in to uphold your incoming freshmen, and with having a great team this past season, what do you think that this next season is going to look like for MBU football?
Well, we've got to start strong. I think our schedule, it's out, it's posted on the website. You can go and look, and it's almost flipped from a year ago. Okay. So like a year ago, our first 5 games, we knew we had some opportunity there to go be successful going to the bye week, and then we would see what the second half of the season brought. But we knew it was going to be important to get those wins under our belt early, get that confidence going in the second week or the second half. But this year it's opposite, and that's okay because, I think we've got a different mindset now. We understand what we can be, where we can be, and we got to just continue to put the work in. But, week 2, we got to play the defending national champions. Going into the bye week, we got to play Benedictine, who was, top of our league. We've got to play Mid-American Nazarene. The back half maybe isn't quite as strong, but you always are kind of concerned about getting those wins and getting that confidence early in the season to carry you through. So we've got to be ready to go, and we've got to be ready to compete. That's something that I think I'm really excited about. But, I think there's a number of these guys that are going to show up and help us and give depth or potentially even start. I just can't wait to see which ones they are, when we roll that ball out and let them go compete.
Oh yeah. Now, about wrapped up there, but before you go, we're here at MBU Timeline this Thursday morning. Is there anything you'd like to say to everybody watching right now?
Well, just how much I appreciate you guys and the student body. I mean, you guys showed up and showed out for us this season. We need that continuing to move forward. But, we appreciate all the students. There's a lot of student athletes. There's a lot of people that go behind the scenes like you guys with Timeline that promote not just football, but all the sports. We got a lot of athletes. We're excited about what the rest of the athletes are doing on this campus. There's a lot of great stuff going on in the other sports. Spring sports are getting ready to kick off. So, we're just excited to go root those guys on in their time and then continue putting in the work, getting ready for the fall.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jackson, thank you so much. There it is, Jackson Devers from MBU Timeline. Thanks again. All right, Coach, here it is. I know everyone's been waiting. They want to know who the class of 2025 is. And I'll give you a couple of fun facts before he begins. Number 1, of the 36 signees, 27 are from right here in Missouri. Coach, you want to talk about that really quick?
Well, that's something that we've really made an emphasis on is, especially as we have moved into the heart of America, that we feel like we really have to do our part in the state of Missouri. Yeah. In fact, this year we made the decision to not go to as many states. Like I didn't go down to Georgia this year. There were some of those other areas. We went down to Tennessee a little bit, obviously the Metro East and Illinois, but we really focused on the state of Missouri, the Metro East, Kansas City area. So, that's what we've got to have. And I think being in the heart of America allows us to go compete in those areas because if we get a Kansas City guy, the furthest that they have to go is when we play home games. Right. So there's so many games that are right there that families can go to. I think it makes a difference when we have home games and we have so many local guys because they fill the stands and we want a great home atmosphere. That's how you get a great home atmosphere in small college football.
All right. Thank you, Coach. Here we go. We're going to start with our signees, and our first one is going to be Eli Abernathy from St. Vincent High School, running back. And what can you tell us about Eli?
Yeah, well, Eli comes from St. Vincent's, obviously. It's just south of here. Evan DeWilde, who Spartan fans may know and recognize that name, linebacker for us. He is from St. Vincent, so they've got a long line of great athletes. Eli played running back, can play linebacker, can be versatile in what he does. We're excited he's here.
Okay. Our next signee is to be Ty Adams from Freeburg High School. He's a DN. You're talking about having replaced Raekwon. Sounds like a replacement for him.
Yeah, no, Ty is a really good player. He comes from a smaller school in my area, Metro East. Okay. But he's got the frame. He's got the ability. One of the things that jumped out early on when I met him back in the spring was just his dedication to his faith and how important that was to him and why we were such a good fit. So he's got a great motor. The biggest thing that we've talked to him about is, just that transition from kind of a smaller high school into, college football. But he's got the frame to do it. He's got the size to do it. We're excited to have Ty.
All right, let's take the next one because now we're going into the area you talked about as quarterback. So, here's our first signee.
Yeah, it's Zayn Al-Jassim from Chester, down south. another guy that's in kind of my area. I recruit Southern Illinois. But Zane, that program has really done a good job. Okay. Their coach, I've known him for a long time since I've started the program. We've worked to get some guys from Chester up here.
Yep.
Little known fact about Chester, it is the home of Popeye. That is where Popeye was created. And so you go down there and it's all about Popeye. But Zane is from down south, and he's a great quarterback. He's got, again, a great frame to him, threw for a lot of yards. Chester had one of their best seasons ever, and it was because of what he did. They had some talent around him, but he really knows how to make plays and is versatile in what he does.
All right, so that's just one of a few quarterbacks that we signed, and we're going to move forward now to a cornerback. That's Stoney Billings from Timberland, right here in Timberland High School.
Yeah, Stoney corner. Okay, so we talk about defensive backs and got to develop depth there. Stoney comes from Timberland. Obviously, we have a long history of Timberland guys going back, especially in the secondary, going back to Connor Bomstead.
There we go, the bomber.
But Stoney's just an athlete. You know, he's a guy. We're going to put him at corner. He might be a nickel. He might be a safety guy. He might be a dime type guy. But just a really good athlete. And can help us in a lot of ways there.
Well, keeping the theme of secondary, you also signed a strong safety from Jefferson City High School, and that's Butler.
DeKedrick Butler.
Yep.
Yeah, DeKedrick is an all-around athlete too. You know, I think that's something that we really try to focus on within all of these guys is their versatility, because when we're on a limited scholarship, so to speak, we've got to have guys that can create depth without just being kind of one-trick ponies, so to speak. DeKedrick, Stoney, those are all guys that are just athletes. Kind of going back to Ty again. Ty could be a defensive end. He also could get some size and play inside. So getting that versatility is something we focus on a lot. But he's a tremendous athlete out of Jeff City, athletic. He'll come hit you and gives us some depth there.
Well, I was going to say, having to play for you in the secondary, they got to hit.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I was going to say, it's got to be prerequisite. Okay, now let's go to the screen, and here we go. So now, okay, there's a few things I like about this. Okay, here it is. We're talking about Kenner By, linebacker, but what was pretty cool, he was actually played both ways, and he was all conference as a linebacker and a tight end right here in, I shouldn't say right here, but in Bloomington, Illinois. Yeah. Talk to us about, Kenner.
Yeah, Kenner was a guy that Coach Thomason recruited. He is from kind of Coach Thomason's from Champaign area, so not too far from Bloomington.
Yep.
So we kind of spot recruit the middle of the state. We focus very heavy on Southern Illinois, spot recruit the rest of the state of Illinois. But Kenner is a guy who will run and hit you. Again, I think in today's day and age, you've got to have guys that have size and speed, as much as possible, because teams will still run the ball heavily at our level. They've got to be able to go and compete. One of the things as we've built our program was walking out on the field and being like, man, we just don't have the size that the Marians have or the Benedictines have, et cetera. We're getting there. I think this year we walked out on the field and we were like, okay, we're right on par with where we need to be. Kenner's a guy, you mentioned it, he's all conference, has great size, great speed, athleticism, and when he gets there, he's nasty. He just will lay a whooping on you, and we're excited about that.
Well, I can't wait to see him when he comes to camp. So speaking as we keep continuing with this, here we go. And now we're talking to a wide receivers from Jaden Davis. Talk to us about Jaden.
Yeah, so Jaden DuQuoin, for those who aren't really familiar with Southern Illinois football, DuQuoin has had a tremendous history of high school football. They're kind of the tough, rugged, backyard type brawlers that you want, and that's what Jaden is. We've got two guys right now. A guy who transferred in at semester, Camden Waller, another guy, Trent Majer, who are DuQuoin guys. So he gets to join them. He's versatile. Again, a wide receiver, but he's versatile. He could move over to defense if necessary. We kind of feel that he's a wide receiver type guy, and he's just gritty. He'll go block. He'll do the little things. So a good addition from a great high school program in Southern Illinois.
All right. Well, as again, you were talking about replacing 2 defensive linemen. Here's your second one, and that's going to be Javon Douglas.
Douglas.
Yeah. And let me just say something just from his picture.
He's a beast.
I mean, I was going to say,
I mean,
look, I played offensive center, as most of you Spartan fans know, and I don't even think I want to mess with him.
No, Javion, he was a high priority guy for us.
Okay.
He was very high on our board, a guy that, again, can play inside, but has some ability and speed to go on the outside.
Right.
He's kind of cut exactly how Gio was when we signed Gio.
Okay.
Gio was right around that 6 foot 285 area when we signed him. He comes from a great program. Lee Summit North is one of the top programs out there in the Kansas City area, in the state of Missouri. We've got several of his teammates here, so it's a great fit. We're getting a great pipeline. Coach Heck does a tremendous job in that Kansas City area. Has done a great job there, and he is a guy that we feel like can come in and give us some immediate depth and help us on that defensive line.
All right, I want to shift to the tight end position, and that's going to be from Fox High School, Preston Ford.
Yeah, so Preston, obviously, might recognize the last name there. Preston's dad is our athletics director, but he graduated in December,
wow.
and being so new to the area, a lot of Preston's time was out playing at a really, really top high school in Arizona. When they moved here, he's played at Fox for Coach Tinker, who does a great job. But he graduated in December, so he's up here now with us working out. I'm excited to see what he's able to do through spring ball. He's got a little bit of an injury that he's working through right now, but we'll have him back for spring ball, and I'm excited to see what he does.
That's be very exciting. Okay, as we move forward, here we go. You were one kidding about wanting to get that D line going. Now you're bringing in another defensive end, Tyler Gamlin. Talk to us about Tyler.
Well, so Tyler was a guy we put a lot of time in. Coach Jake Owen, who works with our safeties, did a great job. Coach Coe also recruits Vianney High School. But, if you're a St. Louis area person, you know about Vianney High School.
Of course
It's got a tremendous history of getting great athletes. Tyler is no different. What I love about Tyler is his motor. When you turn the film on, he's just constantly going. There's no doubt we got to put some strength on him, put some size on him.
Right.
But he's got some time to develop, and he's got the frame to do it. I mean, look at it, 6'2", 220 right now, and he hasn't even begun to fill that body out. So he's going to be a guy that I think Spartan fans hear a lot about throughout the course of his career. Where he's at physically is going to determine how much he helps us, but he's got a motor that won't quit and is an exciting player to watch.
All right, now we're going to take a shift back to the wide receivers and talk to us about Tommy Glacken.
Yeah, so Tommy, again, right across the river the other direction now in St. Charles, Francis South Central, a versatile guy. He plays wide receiver. He kind of did it all for them. Okay. And Howell Central, they've got a tremendous thing going over there. Their coach is just tremendous. So I can't say enough good stuff about their coach, and just a great guy. He's developing them. I think one of the things I love when you get a guy out of Howell Central, they're going to fit into our program so well from a pillar standpoint, because that's what they hear all the time now. Right. He's a tremendous athlete who will fit right in with us, and a great ad for us.
All right, now I want to shift because we know that you're losing a kicker in Jonah Cox, who basically rewrote all your kicking records.
Right. And
now you're bringing in from Fox High School, Jonas Huter.
Yeah. So you mentioned it. I meant to mention it with Jackson, but kicker was a point of emphasis. Kicking game is so important. Where they start with the ball, where are you able to put points up? And you mentioned losing Jonah Cox. Now Neil Thompson is here. He was a freshman this year, so he's working hard. He's gonna keep developing. But we needed to have some depth. We needed to have some backup. So there's several kickers in this class. Jonas being one of them. He was second team all conference as a punter. So that gives us a little bit of depth with Jaden George, who will be a senior.
Right.
Of course, Spartan fans know Jaden well. But if you know anything about the Coles kicking camp, that's kind of one of the premier premier kicking camps in the country
Right.
that Jamie Cole runs. And he was listed as a 4-star kicker and a 3-star punter through their kicking camps. So, he's got the leg. He'll come in and compete and give us some depth. So we'll see. I think the biggest thing that we're all about is that competition, right? Is making the guys here better, bringing the guys in to make them and make our team stronger. And Jonas will be one of those guys.
Okay, Coach, we're going to go to our next one. And this one's kind of interesting. I'll tell you why in a second. Omar has got a lot of accolades.
Yeah, he does.
I mean, seriously, he's an all-stater.
Yeah.
So let's just stop there. All-stater right here in Missouri. Talk to us about Omar Hussein.
Well, Rockwood Summit is another area. Coach Heck is responsible for recruiting, and we're starting to get a little bit of a pipeline with Rockwood Summit. We've got several guys from Rockwood here now. Grant Gibson, a quarterback. We've got Justin Cornett, an offensive lineman. We've got several guys there. Mm-hmm. Omar is a guy who hasn't played a ton of football. He's played like 1 or 2 years of football, but his frame, his physicalness. I mean, right. when you see him walk through the door, the guy fills up the door. He's strong as an ox. And you mentioned it. I mean, he's a 3-sport right. athlete. He's 3-time all-conference. He's a 3-time all-conference thrower. I mean, honor roll. He checks so many boxes. And so he's a guy that I think he really could be a guy who just, as we develop, if he buys into the system, man, right. the sky could be the limit. Just kind of like it was with Raekwon. You watch that feature they had on the news, and Raekwon talked about how he came in from a Southwestern Illinois college right. and was kind of unknown, and then he becomes this dominant player. I think Omar, he's going to be somebody that Spartan fans hear a lot about, I believe.
Speaking on Raekwon, why don't you tell the fans what he just competed in? I mean, I don't think a lot of fans may have caught that story, but talk about the bowl game he was in.
Well, so we had him and Gio both that were able to compete in a postseason All-Star game. And then Raekwon performed well. Actually, both of them did. They both got invited to another All-Star game after that, but Raekwon was invited to the Tropical Bowl, which is attended by a lot of NFL scouts, CFL scouts. Right. So, he was able to do pretty well down there, starting to get some looks, at various levels. So we'll see what happens, but he has a pro day coming up at the University of Missouri here at the end of March, and we'll see where it takes him. But, we're hopeful for him. He's putting in a lot of work, had a great career, and we're excited for both him and Gio.
Well, I'll just say this. It speaks something to the program when you've got some of our student athletes now getting pro days. Back in my day, seriously, had pro days with Detroit and with the Cowboys. Yeah. So I'm just saying, I know the significance of what this young man's going to get a chance and opportunity to do.
Yeah. And we've talked to several NFL teams. We've talked to some CFL teams about him. So we'll see where all that shakes out. But just having that opportunity, we're excited about it.
Okay, our next 2 signees are a pair of strong safeties. And this first one, what I like about this guy, when you just read about him, he's a smart player who runs around and makes plays. I'm going to tell you right now, and he's got some interceptions, and of course, he has lots of tackles, and that's going to be Gregory Jackson right here out of Timberland High School. But when I read that kind of about him, it kind of sounds a little bit maybe like a Jalen Cowley.
Oh, yeah. No, definitely.
It sounds like that he's that type of player.
Yeah, he is. He's a guy, he's going to run and hit you, obviously. Yeah. He makes plays. Being an intelligent player is so important at all positions anymore, and especially in our secondary at safety positions, because, we really view the linebacker and safety as kind of the quarterback of the defense. So they're making a lot of checks. They're getting us in maybe out of a bad call into a better call based on formation. There's a lot of moving parts. So we need smart guys back there. Greg's a great addition.
Okay, well, our next one is going to be Chase Jansen from how do you pronounce the high school?
Modern Day.
I thought it was right.
Yeah.
But what's really interesting, again, when we read the report on him, and again, this report was generated by your coaching staff. Yeah. So this isn't for media purposes, really.
Right.
This is just some things to help guide us through this really cool announcement. But what I found really interesting, that he excels in reading the quarterback.
Well, he played quarterback. So, So
Okay,
Chase is again another athlete. He's like one of those guys. He at his high school, again a smaller school, Southern Illinois, great program. Believe it or not, a little history about myself. When I first moved out here from Colorado back in the early 2000s, my first coaching job was at Modern Day High School. So I have a little history there myself.
Wow.
But Chase is a guy who is the epitome of a team player.
Okay.
He's the epitome of a hard worker. He checks all the boxes when we talk about our pillars. He played quarterback there, understands he's probably not really a quarterback. Is he a wide receiver? Is he going to be a safety? Is he going to be an outside backer? Those are all things we've got to kind of look at as we get him in and see just where does his skill set lean. But he's a tremendous athlete, and he's playing basketball now. I mean, I had when he kind of announced that he was committing to us, I had somebody reach out to me and be like, when he stepped on the basketball court a few weeks ago and his team was losing, everything changed when he stepped on the court and he fought back. He brought his team back and just brought so much enthusiasm and effort. So just a great player, a great young man. So be a great addition to what we're building within our culture.
So Coach, what I've seen so far, okay, we're about halfway through. What I've seen is you really got a lot of athletes here that play multiple sports, which means they're athletes and they're not just a one-dimensional player. Is that pretty fair to say?
Oh, absolutely. And again, it comes back to how can we create depth through versatility,
right?
And so having athletes is a big deal. These are all guys, again, that fit our mold, that fit our pillars.
Right.
We recruit very hard to our pillars. Something where we focus on a ton in the recruiting process. And these guys check those boxes. But yes, we've got to have that versatility. You go back to the Missouri Valley game that we played here at home, and we lost all of our safeties going into the game.
Right.
We took a linebacker, moved him back to safety. We took a corner and moved him to safety and nickel, and taught them a few things within the last 2 days because all that happened on Thursday, and they were able to get it done and do it at a high level. And not because that's a testament to their ability to learn quick and be smart, but also to their overall athleticism and ability to go do things and be versatile. And that's critical.
Well, speaking about being versatile, let's talk about the O-line. I'm a little partial to that, of course. But our offensive tackle from Marquette High School, very well-known high school here, that's Malik Johnson. And what I find fascinating, two-sport athlete. He was obviously offensive lineman, also a wrestler, 2-year starter.
Yeah.
And all I can tell you is usually my experience has been with offensive linemen who also wrestle, that they know how to move.
Yep. And they know how to hold. And we got to get that out of them. No, Malik's a great young guy. Again, Marquette, a great program here just down the road. So a local guy, great size. And you bring up the wrestling, man. I love the wrestlers. I love guys that wrestle because that shows their toughness. It shows their commitment. I mean, there's probably no more mentally taxing sport than wrestling. And I think the other big thing is he's an offensive tackle. So, those are hard to find. Finding a good offensive tackle that can move his feet and have the size and length that you're looking for. A lot of times those guys go above you.
Right.
There's so many guys that are out there that are 6'4", 280 pounds. They may not be the best athletes, but they're going to get recruited simply off size because it's hard to find. He's got great size, great athleticism, and can help us at the tackle position.
Okay, well, this next one, I'm going to just set it up for you. Here's our second signing for the quarterback position, but Isaiah Jones comes in with a lot of accolades, Coach. I mean, seriously, a 4-time letter winner.
Yeah.
So talk to us. I mean, good size at 6'3", 215, maybe, put on 5-10 pounds, whatever. But talk to us about Isaiah because out of West Plains, Missouri. And again, I was just shocked on all the things that he accomplished in his high school career.
Yeah, he's a diamond in the rough type guy. West Plains is not the biggest school, not the biggest area. Probably gets overlooked a little bit. Again, kudos to Coach Heck and the coaching staff for finding him. They targeted him early on in the process. And I'm talking about like going back to, I want to say the Lindenwood camp back in like the end of May. They saw him work out there, saw he had tremendous arm strength, kind of developed that relationship, stayed on him. He was one of the earlier quarterbacks to commit to us. But just kind of throwing this out there, in his career, he threw for 4,300 yards, which is a school record.
Wow.
He was the Southwest Missouri Quarterback of the Year, state quarter finalist. So he's a winner. He's a guy that does some great things, has great arm strength, and as you can see, great size for a guy that's 18 years old. So, again, getting that size, trying to find those guys that can come in the room and create competition. I think he's going to be a great fit.
Sounds like it. Certainly has the obviously the body type for it. Exactly. All right. Now we're going to move to the wide receiver. And this is going to be Wes Knuckles. Sounds like a defensive player's name, but I love it.
It does, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
Wes Knuckles from Northwest High School. What do we know about this wide receiver?
Yeah, again, he's just a playmaker. He goes and finds the ball, hunts the ball. He's a guy, Northwest, obviously not too far away, was an all-conference guy for him. And all district as a DB. So again, a guy who can play both sides of the ball. But again, a great addition to that room and a guy who will go out and compete.
All right. Well, this next position is maybe arguably the most important on our defense, and that's the Mike linebacker. And talk to us about Justin Lane.
Yeah. So Justin, he's a guy from St. Pius, which is the home of Dabrian Moss, our Mike linebacker.
Yeah.
So Justin just comes from a great family. I mean, I'll tell you, we spent a lot of time with him and his mom and dad when they were up on a visit and had a great time. It's just a great family. He's a great player, brings some versatility to that position. I don't know if he's quite the size right now to be that Mike linebacker, but when you're talking about our Will linebacker, Sam linebacker, he's got the athleticism, the speed. He's a thick body and strong. Okay. So he'll be a great addition to that room.
All right. Well, the next where we're going is now to tight end. This is Landon Lunt out of Liberty North High School. But what I find really interesting about him, here is someone who's actually won a state championship. And also what I find really amazing, he's also an academic all-state honor roll member. So this isn't just a great player, but this is someone who's obviously getting it done in the classroom. And I don't know why I'm kind of highlighting him a little bit, just, again, combining these really two strong areas.
Yeah, well, something I tell our team all the time is dumb teams don't win championships. And I think one of the biggest areas, that we can point to as we look at the change in scholarship money that we've received over the last 2 years is being able to get in a better student. That is huge. So I'm a big believer in, I don't really want necessarily the best athlete in the room.
Right.
I want the best student athlete in the room.
Right.
Because there's so many other things that come along with somebody who's not going to go to class, and then they're it's just issue after issue. Obviously, we've got a great group of guys that are very, very high academic guys, Landon being one of them. You mentioned he won a state title.
Yeah.
Back in 2023, again, from Liberty North High School. And to win that state championship, they beat CBC, which we know a lot about CBC and what a great program that is. I think what jumps out about Landon, he is a very good pass catching tight end. But what I love is that he helped Liberty North to being one of the best rushing offenses in the state. So he's a very willing blocker, which we really need to have within that tight end room.
Absolutely. So, okay. And I'll let you tee up our next signee.
Yeah, Malachi. Yeah. So Malachi, you want to talk about athletes. Malachi is that athlete. Okay. So Malachi comes from Mount Vernon High School out just east of me. So athleticism. I mean, when you look at this guy, it just like oozes out of him. He doesn't sweat. He sweats athleticism. It's just unbelievable. But he's a guy that at his high school, they put him at quarterback because what do? You put your best athlete at quarterback. So he played quarterback, very similar, to some of the guys that we talked about earlier, or Chase Jansen. But I don't know exactly where we're going to put him, honestly, because he can do a lot of things. He can catch the ball. He can run the ball.
Right.
I think if you ask him, hey, coach, I want to play running back, and he's kind of like Lionel Banks. He's not the biggest dude, but he plays with a tremendous big heart.
Right.
He's got great speed and wiggle to him. So, a lot of what they were doing with him was snap it to the quarterback and let him go use his legs. So he's a guy we got to find a spot for. We will, just because of, he's a hard worker. Again, another extremely high academic guy.
Very nice. So our next signee is a running back, and this one is also very intriguing.
Can I stop you? Look at this.
Hang on.
From Jordan. The best athlete.
Jordan
You're
Simpson.
right, Jordan. You're right.
That's pretty funny. That's awesome. Well, we were trying to predict who would be the first one to make a comment, and there we go.
We go. We will credit him. What the most shocking thing about Jordan this year was what? How he ran the ball.
Yes.
Yep. So
every broadcast, Kevin Pauls and I would be looking like, okay, did he just do that again? Did he just get another first down?
Yeah.
It's 3rd and 15. He just ran for 16 yards.
Yeah, I think the most athletic Simpsons play linebacker though, but I'm not sure. Sorry, Jordan.
Wow, ouch. All right, so our next
and his linebacker, his brother plays linebacker.
I know.
I have to tease him a little bit.
I know, it's okay. Jordan, yeah, hold on. He
said love y'all. We love you too, Jordan.
Yep, absolutely. And Jordan, thanks for watching the show.
You, by the way.
Absolutely, we're gonna miss him. I'm gonna miss him. Oh, look at him. Aw.
He's funny.
I know he is. Okay. Next signee from Farmington High School, a few hours from here. But this is Kason McLean, and running back. But this guy's come in with 42 touchdowns, nearly 4,000 yards of rushing. Okay, coach, seriously. I mean, those are. I mean, I like what some players will say. That's like John Madden football numbers.
Yeah, no, it is. And again, I mean, 42 touchdowns in his career.
Wow.
So a guy, Farmington, they just landed a really good coach. They've done a good job. They've just signed Brent Eckley as their coach there. So, and he won tremendous amount of games at Jackson High School. But Kason is a guy who it's like, you kind of get worried at a point. It's a great problem to have, but it's like you got to continue to remind these guys, hey, there's one ball,
Right.
But he'll be a great addition to that running back room.
Well, that's really exciting. Okay, so I'll let you tee up our next kicker. Talk to us about Connor Mefflin.
Yeah, so Connor, again, another St. Pius guy, where Justin Len is from, two-sport athlete. So you can see on the notes, he's hit from 55 and 63. So he's got a strong leg. He is more of a true kicker, which is good. So we've got some guys that are a little bit stronger in punting. He's a guy that's really good at kicking. So it'll be a really good competition when we get these guys in and let them just kind of go get their reps and win the job.
Okay, so Coach, I just let all you Spartan fans know, like when I get this, I read it through a few times, make a few notes. I made a few notes on this next guy, and I'll tell you why in a second. Again, I'm always biased offensive lineman, of course. But with this, let's bring him in. Here he is. And this is Nathan Mislin, and out of Columbia, played at Battle High School. But what's amazing about this guy, he can play all 5 positions anywhere on your offensive line. And what I also think is pretty fascinating about him is that when I hear someone say he's very competitive personally, as well as he likes to, let's just say, he likes to get nasty, he likes to get dirty, right? I don't mean dirty playing. I just mean he likes to get in the mud.
Yes,
that's an old saying from my era. So
no, absolutely,
likes to get in the mud.
No, he does. He's a guy that really kind of came into the mix late.
Okay.
Coach Co recruits Columbia and specifically Battle. There's 3 guys that we were really kind of targeting here, as we got into even early January. Nate was one of those guys. We turned his film on. He was a little bit unknown earlier, but when we turned his film on, I think that's what jumped out was just his athleticism and how he finished people. He moves really well, 6'2", 280, very athletic, 6'2", 280. And, when you talk about, we kind of hit on this in the other positions, but I always feel like you've got to put the best 11 guys on the field at all times.
Right.
Offensive line is one of those positions, I think, where it's really true that you kind of have your depth chart
Right.
that you put up on the board and you run through practice. And then you have your depth chart, which is the real somebody goes down, who is the next guy in?
Right.
And that might mean that you're taking your guard and moving them to center and bringing the backup guard. You're going to find the best unit there. The ability for him to play all of those positions, it goes back to like Eli Kraft, who's with us now.
Right.
He was the same way. You know, Eli was able to jump in at any position, even as a freshman. Nate's going to be in that same mold, and you love his tenacity.
Well, I'm just going to say this. He reminds me a lot of a former player named Thomas Smith.
Yeah.
He came in out of Texas. He played offensive tackle to start with. I think he played everywhere on your offensive line due to various things.
Yeah.
But when I think of this guy in reading, I mean, at 6'2", 280, okay, you know he's going to move people.
Yeah, move people, and I can't stress it enough. He moves so well. You watch him pull. Yeah. You watch him get out on the perimeter. He does a really good job at it.
Well, I can't wait to meet him in the fall.
Oh yeah,
can't wait till we get into those.
He's gonna growl at you.
Yeah, well, that's okay. You can growl at me. It's fine. So I know I like those kind of guys. All right, here we go. Now we're gonna go to cornerback again, out of Kansas City, North Kansas City High School product. This is Josiah Morris, and he's a cornerback, and obviously this is your position, your coach. So talk to us about Josiah.
So going back when we talked with Jackson at the beginning about replacing Rondale Messer,
yes,
developing some depth in that corner room. One of the things that I won't go into all the behind the scenes details, but I finally I kind of erupted on the staff about the corners that were coming in, that they were bringing to us. And I just felt like we really needed some length. The receivers that we have on our team and the receivers that we face, you got Joe White out there who's 6'3", 6'4".
Yeah.
You got Gavin Claude who's 6'3", 6'4", Isaiah Hamilton, and that's just on our team.
Right.
So, I told guys like, look, I know it's not always possible, but we've got to find some corners and some DBs with length.
Right.
And this guy checks that box. He's 6'1", 185. He can run. He's long. You look at some of the notes here, 5.7% completion percentage that he had this year. He only gave up 2 catches for 16 yards and no touchdowns. So guys aren't throwing at him. He's a guy that we're going to need to come in and be ready. Whether he starts on day one or not, who knows? That's going to be up to him and how quickly he learns. But he's a guy that we can really feel like we can develop for the long term in our secondary.
Coach, let's just be honest. I mean, part of the reason why the Spartans had their best record in 12 years and 12 seasons was the 6-4 record, but it's because of Messer. And we would say that in the year after a while, the guy was a shutdown corner.
He was.
And he got thrown at a lot too, though. That's the surprising thing. People would try to throw on him, but time and time again, he was, breaking up passes or intercepting them or whatever. But this could be a massive asset if he could develop into being at this level a shutdown corner.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think that every good team, there's a strategy that we have when we recruit and how we want to build our defense. I think you look at the NFL as a model in a way, right? But where does the NFL spend money? They spend money at a left tackle. They spend money at a quarterback. They spend money at a corner. They spend money at a really good defensive lineman. You look at this past year, and that's to take nothing away from the other guys and how really good and athletic our defense is as a whole. But when Rondale took that next step this year and didn't give up the same number of completions, it changed everything. When Gio and Ray can stop the ball in the run, it changes everything. So, he's a guy. We've got other guys here that are going to be part of that competition, but, and other guys that we're signing. But he's a guy, especially into the boundary. I feel like you can get away with a little bit shorter athletic guy when you're to the field, but you need somebody that can go compete and have length into the boundary, and that's where Josiah comes in.
Well, it's going to be real exciting when he comes into camp for sure. All right. Now I'm going to go to an offensive guard. What I like about this, Coach, is this is what you're talking about before about building relationships with programs.
Yeah.
And we've got a big history here with some of the folks from this particular high school, Blue Springs.
Yeah.
High School, and this is Noah Munoz. And talk to us about Noah.
Yeah, Noah, he is Munoz. He, again, Blue Springs High School, home of Joe White, Caden Luchin Williams.
Right.
We have a transfer in running back, Calvin Griffin, that's a transfer from Southwest Baptist. That's a Blue Springs guy. Noah is a guy, again, kind of continues that pipeline, has the ability. He is more of an interior guy,
Right.
okay, but he can go. He's nasty, gives us some depth at the offensive line, has great size. And then I think when you really look at that last part there, again, he's on part of the academic honor roll.
Right. Okay, our next signee is Grayson Parker from Bellevue East High School, and this is another one of our kickers. And how do you classify him in with our kicking mix?
Well, Grayson's a true kicker,
okay.
and he's a guy who committed early to us from Belleville East. One of my close friends that I coached with is the head coach over there. Early on, Grayson was a guy that we had targeted as a possible guy to come in and potentially compete or replace Jonah. Obviously, getting some of those guys in here. He's got great mechanics. He's got some depth. He's got the ability to kick off the ground. So excited about what Grayson will bring to us.
All right. Well, our next signee is, again, into your strong safety, and no surprise, you are constantly bringing in people to compete. And this is going to be DJ Rivera right here out of St. Peters, Missouri. And that's Fort Zumwalt East High School. And it's right here. I mean, literally right here. And what I find interesting about him is here's someone that's been all conference, all district, even an all-stater. He's also a wrestler that may actually be all-state in wrestling in his weight class. And talk to us about him, because I know from talking to the coaches, you guys are very high on DJ.
Yeah, again, DJ was a guy early on, that we had high on our board. He visited early on and then committed early. But he was a guy that we felt like, from an intelligence standpoint, again, you put the wrestling piece in on it.
Right.
Very smart player, a guy who, just look at his picture. He's fun to be around.
Well, it looks like it.
Yeah. No, he is. He's a lot of fun to be around. He has a great personality. He loves the game. He loves to come down and hit, and is tremendously athletic. And you look again at his size, 6 foot 195. That's a size that you can walk through and play safety at this level. So, he checks a lot of boxes for us, and was, again, a first team all conference guy in a really good league.
Okay, well, we're now going to shift to yet another cornerback, and this is going to be Marcus Sanders. And let me hit the screen. Okay, here we go. And he's from Sykeston's High School, and he's a two-sport athlete in both football and basketball. But when I get something handed to me, they say he's a lockdown corner. We just got done talking about that. Talk to us about Marcus and why you guys are so high in him.
Well, I think, again, he's got the athleticism to go do it. So, when you turn the film on, he is doing it. He's showing his ability to go and cover. So he's a two-sport athlete, like you mentioned. But, I love multi-sport athletes. I think in this day and age where everybody's trying to be so sport specific, especially if you're going to be in an athletic position like corner that has so much, I think corner is probably the hardest position to play on the football field. Being able to play basketball is huge, because you know how to guard, you know how to move your feet.
Right.
So it's really important. He doesn't have the length that Josiah has, but he can cover. Again, can he be a field guy? Is he a nickel? But he's got tremendous speed and can go make those plays.
All right, Spartan fans, we've just named 30 signees for the class of 2025. We have 6 left. Here we come down the home stretch. Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, we're actually going there right now. So talk to us about a quarterback, and that's going to be Mitchell Price.
Yeah, so Mitch is a guy that gave us the phone call this afternoon and early afternoon.
Okay, good.
So again, one of those guys. We talk about Zane. We talked about Isaiah. Mitch comes from Colorado.
He's biased.
I didn't say the great state of Colorado, but I will now. The great state of Colorado.
Gosh.
He played out there for my college roommate, my best friend. He played for him at Arapahoe High School.
Yeah.
Mitch is 6'5", 195 pounds, tremendous arm talent, can throw the deep ball.
Okay.
He is only going to get better. I think that's what excites me so much about
Yeah.
Mitch. He moved into Arapahoe for his senior year, was playing behind some other guys.
Yeah.
So he really only started 1 year of varsity football,
Okay.
but had a tremendous year. And when Tyler talks about him, he just raves about his leadership, his ability to go make these plays. So he was a guy that we had out on a visit early January and got the commitment out of today. So we're excited to add Mitch.
Well, I just want to say, Mitch, I apologize. I did not update. No, this is on me. I'm serious. I did not update that because I didn't get the commitment yet and official. That's why mine's just blank. So I just want to apologize. But I am excited you're going to be a Spartan, definitely, especially at 6'5". I'm 6'5". So we'll be like looking at an eye. Okay, here we go. All right, as we wrap up and our last 6, here we go. And now we're going to talk to us about wide receiver Tavion Sims out of Lee Summit West High School, strong high school program at 5'8". Sounds like he's going to be one of those possession receivers who can get open in space. Talk to us about Tavion.
Tavion can flat run. He is one of those guys that is a problem just based on speed. You don't get caught up in his size. He is not the biggest guy. You know, I think when we go back, there's a guy out of St. Louis playing for Mid-America who could run. When we were game planning for him, it was one of those things like you got to know where he's at because he can change the game just with his speed. Tavion is one of those guys. He finished second in the state as a sophomore on his 4x2 team. He's first team all conference in football and track since his junior year. One of our guys that's currently on our roster, when he saw that we signed Tavion Sims, texted Coach Heck and said he might be the fastest guy in the state, and he might be. We'll find out this year.
Right.
But a tremendous wide receiver with elite speed.
Well, if that's going to be the case, Coach, I'm expecting for him to be used also on some run plays, some jet sweeps, and certainly some just flat out go routes.
Just go.
Yeah, just go. Okay.
Like Al Davis would say, right? Just win, just go.
Just win, baby.
Just go, baby.
Okay. All right. Another tight end, and this one's out of Texas, Fort Worth Christian High School.
Yep.
Talk to us about Alex Simon.
Well, let me tell you, this guy, as we kind of look at that tight end room, right? We talked about Landon Lunt earlier.
Yeah.
Alex is a different type of tight end than Landon. Landon is a really good run blocker, and that's not to take away from Alex in his run capability. However, he's a little bit smaller, not quite as thick as Landon, but he is an athlete. This dude, I mean, he could be a wide receiver. He could be that tight end that you split out, that you put on the backside of things. He can be that matchup problem.
Right.
Where it's like, okay, if teams want to substitute and go big, you spread them out. If they want to go small, you tighten him down. So he's going to be a matchup problem, a tremendous athlete. Again, great family. They came up from Texas, visited campus. He's got a great frame. He'll only continue to get better, but he's a first team all district, second team all state guy. Brings a lot of versatility and flexibility. And when you're doing those things in the state of Texas, in the Fort Worth area, you're a pretty special player.
Absolutely, you are. For anyone who's never been there, I have been there, Coach. It literally is its own world, it seems.
Yeah.
For football, seriously, for high school football.
Yeah.
Okay. Our next one is Elmani Vance, wide receiver, 5'11" to 175. And why don't you talk to us about this coming out of Lee Summit North High School? Again, a very strong program.
Yep.
It's had a lot of success there. What should Spartan fans get to know about Elmani?
So Elmani is a guy who has really good speed, not quite to where Tavion Sims is maybe in the actual just straight ahead speed, but he's got tremendous wiggle. And when he gets the ball in his hands, he's going to make a guy miss. Okay. He's kind of wearing number 3, and maybe loosely I would compare him to what Cam Sloan was. Okay. I think the reality is that I think he's going to be more dependable and a guy who just continues to get better and better. He's got great speed, great frame, can catch the ball well, not afraid to go over the middle.
Right.
And when he gets the ball in his hands, he's electric. So you can use him in the return games and stuff like that.
All right, this next one, and this is not a misprint. I had to ask the staff 3 times about this one. We have a Herschel Walker, not to be confused with
Yeah.
the legendary Herschel Walker involved in that big Dallas trade back in the day.
That's right.
But we've got our own Herschel Walker, and right here from Chatham, Illinois,
Yep.
from Glenwood High School. And Coach, why are we so high on Herschel?
Well, so first of all, you go to that conference in Central Illinois. Okay, I think it's the South 7. That is one of the toughest leagues in the entire state. Okay. So he's used to playing against great competition. He's used to being on a really good high school team there at Chatham Glenwood. But he's a downhill guy. He's a tough runner. He's got really good size. I mean, you look at him, he's not the tallest guy, but he is built. He's strong. He's not afraid of contact. He'll get downhill, can make you miss. And he's got a great name for a running back. So what else can you say?
It's so great. I had to ask the staff 3 times, like, is this a misprint? Are you guys messing with me?
Right.
Like, no. Anyways, it's really cool. Herschel, we're really looking forward to having you in camp come fall. Okay. Just change the screens. Here we go. We just have 2 left. And another offensive guard, but, you kind of have a theme going here, Coach. I mean, a lot of these offensive linemen you've signed are first team this, first team that, first team all conference, first team all district, first team all metro. And you guys are calling him a dominant force, and that is Peyton Younger out of Fox High School. Talk to us about Peyton.
Yeah, I mean, again, we talked about Fox High School, and, Preston Ford coming there. Names that Spartan fans might remember: Bobby Nybert, who played several years ago, Daryl Krieger. Both of those are Fox products. Yep. So it's a great program here locally. Peyton is an offensive lineman, so we've got to get him developed, get him caught up a little bit. But he is a guy who's got the strength and the ability to go play at the next level on the offensive line. He's just got and the one thing about, I think the biggest transition for guys coming from Fox is their ability to pass block, because they're so run heavy. But you want to run the football, you're going to get Peyton in the game and run behind him. He'll dig you out.
All right, and our very last signee is out of Farmington High School. Again, another Farmington product. Kicker, punter, first team all SEMO punter and kicker. And he was 7 for 9 on field goals, including a game winner that actually his junior year, and that's pretty exciting. So talk to us about Ian Zoner.
Yeah, he's another guy that is going to add some depth and competition into that kicking room. I think when you look at him, he's one of those guys that can do both. So, we've got several guys that are kind of focused on kicking. We've got several guys who are a little bit better punting. And, this is the most that we've had in that room, and I'm excited about that. Right. I think that that's a great thing. It gives us the ability to create some depth. Obviously, we're going to be losing Jaden George, after this year. But it's going to bring in a lot of competition, and Ian comes from a great program. He's done it. His numbers prove it. He was a first team all SEMO conference punter and kicker. So, that's one of the things, and you kind of just hit on it here, is just the number of guys that are like, hey, I'm all conference this, all conference that. And, that's where I think every year you go into recruiting, and moms, dads, grandmas, grandpas, they like to brag on their kids, which they should, right? We all do. And they're like, oh, well, my son was first team all this, first team all that. And, one of our guys said it on player panel one week that, well, when you walk into our locker room, that's kind of a prerequisite. Like if
I love it.
If you're going to make it,
I love that.
And there's a lot of truth to that. And, that's coming from our own players. It's like, being first team all conference and first team all state and all that is a great deal. Right. We weren't always able to say that, I think that's one of the things where we've been able to grow as we've gone through these last 12 years, get some wins under our belt, that now we're able to get those academic honor roll guys, the academic all state guys, and then they're matching it with their all conference, all state. And that is a prerequisite. And honestly, it should be, right? If you're going to be a good college football team, you've got to have a locker room full of those guys that are meeting those postseason accolades. Otherwise, when you get to the next level, you're not going to have a very good team.
Well, Coach, and all I can say is what a recruiting job by the staff, by your coaches. Yeah. I know you guys have had so much going on in campus, so many visits, certainly during the season with over 220 some athletes that visited us during our games. And so, Coach, why don't you? I'm going to put you on the spot. I know, but I do it every year, so I need to continue with my streak. But I have said this. I believe your last 2 years have been the best recruiting classes you've ever had, partially because of all these accolades and the size. I mean, it just seems like we're attracting a different athlete in this stage of the program's history than ever before. And how's this one stack up to the last two? Because the last two, in my opinion, this is part of the reason why you went 6-4.
It is. It is. I think on paper it stacks up pretty well.
Yeah.
I would say that there's a lot of guys in here that are very comparable to some of the top guys that we talked about a year ago and 2 years ago. I think one of the biggest things is that how does that on paper transition to on field?
Right.
I think one of the things that, and this is a byproduct of having a better program,
right,
is do we have guys that are patient?
Right.
And I say that because, as we recruit, I'm very specific about, I get asked a lot of times like, well, do you envision them red shirting? Do you envision them whatever? Right. I never want to recruit a guy to redshirt ever. Mm-hmm. Like, I think that defeats the purpose. Right. If you envision them to come in and redshirt, then why not go find a better player? Why not go find somebody that isn't going to for sure sit out? Like, right, if you can see that ahead of time, right, then to me, you're bringing in the wrong guy.
Okay.
That being said, that locker room continues to get filled with better and better and better players.
Yes.
And I would say this, advancing a year down the road to 2026,
right, that
class could maybe be the best, most talented class that we've ever had. Who knows, right? But they're going to have even more patience because we just stacked 3 or 4 really good classes together that are going to stick together and develop.
Right.
And, I think one thing that I notice about this class, and that this is not about the guys that are on paper here, but we have about 10 fewer guys that we are announcing today than what we did a year ago.
Right.
And I love that because that means that we kept that many more guys from the year before, which we need to do.
Right.
And we'll continue to do. We'll continue to retain and develop those guys. So the biggest thing I would say is as good as this class is and as excited as we all are about them, that don't forget that they have a locker room full of guys that aren't eager to give up their job. Come in and challenge them.
Right.
Come in and push them. Come in and make our football team better, however that is, and understand that your time will come.
Right.
Whenever that is. For some of them, it'll be sooner than later. And some of them, they may have to be a year or so down the road. But make our team better, make our football team better, because when we see better guys in practice, that helps us on Saturday. And ultimately, that's what it takes to be a championship caliber team. Who plays, who doesn't, who knows? Out of last year's class, who is going to take that next step and really start helping us, or who's going to get beat out? We don't know. But that's what I love about this whole process, is that ultimately when you roll the ball out there and you strap up and you bite down on that mouthpiece, the cream rises to the top, and we can go, and the rest of them, we just keep developing.
Absolutely. So, Spartan fans, I just want to just be very transparent with you on what I'm about to say next. And that's this. This is one of the few years where I didn't obsess over asking him daily about all his signees. I just didn't do it this year. But what I like about what I'm about to say is because, seeing all the signees that we have, I think the coaching staff have done 3 things. I think number one, you addressed all the needs that you had. Number one. Okay, that's super huge. You know what you're losing. You know what you got to bring back. And again, just like you did the last few years, you were bringing in, a lot of depth to that even, okay, with your defensive backs, your linemen, your, the quarterbacks, the kickers. I think number 2 is that this might be, again, I didn't compare it against the other 2 years, but it seems like you've got more athletes than you've ever had, meaning these signees are people who have played multiple sports. And I'm just saying there's so much to be benefiting from that. I was a 3-sport athlete myself, playing offensive line, but just that value alone, and just the willingness to compete and realizing the demands on your body and all of those things. And I think thirdly, it's really exciting to see how many people are coming from championship programs.
Yeah.
That we know that how cool will it be to bring that kind of mindset into the locker room with what we already have.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot to be said to recruit from winning programs,
Right?
Because you understand what it takes to win football games,
Right.
what it takes to win, and there is a difference.
Right.
There is a difference, and you have to understand that carries over. There's a lot of times that I'll ask guys like, "Hey, would this have been tolerated at your high school?" No. Well, then don't do it here.
Right. Good point.
It makes a difference. If you're going to build a winning team, you've got to have winners in your locker room. You've got to have guys that understand what it takes to do that. I think kind of flipping gears a little bit, one of the things that we are very intentional about, and I'm very proud of our staff for, these are freshmen. Right. We brought in 3 transfers at semester.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't mean that I'm like wholly against transfers. There's a few other guys that we're talking to as possibly transferring, et cetera. But we want to develop young men. We want to develop them off the field. We want to develop them on the field.
Right.
And these 36 guys are freshmen, and they're young guys.
Right.
And that's great, because as good as they are now, if they buy into our program with the coaching that we have and that we're able to give them, they're going to be night and day. They're going to be tremendous in 4 years. I look at what Coach Code does with these defensive linemen. Raekwon and Gio walked in as good players, and look where he took them. Look at where Jordan Simpson went with Coach Heck in 2 years. So that's what I'm excited about, and where we want to live. Like in this day of transfer portal, in this day of just pure chaos, we still want to recruit the high school kids. We still want to develop our program with the high school guys and understand that it's a 4-year process. And if you want a fast turnaround, if you want to treat us like a JUCO and I'm going to go there for 2 years and then jump ship, we don't want you. Now that doesn't mean that if you get, Mizzou knocking on your door, that we're going to stand in your way. Go take the better deal. But we want guys that want to be here, and these 36 guys knock it out of the park.
Couldn't agree with you more. And Coach, so again, congratulations to the class of 2025. I cannot wait to be doing with Kevin Paulus the fall camp report and bringing you all that live coverage that we do each and every fall. So, Coach, as we wrap the show up, give the Spartan fans a little bit what's about to happen next, because now it's February 5th. The next thing is going to be spring ball. So talk to us a little bit about spring ball, and then maybe even a little highlights of the upcoming season.
So we transition Monday into our Agogi competitive. They're in teams. We chose guys to be team leaders. They drafted their teams this morning. They'll dive into that for the rest of the month of February. That's a highly competitive, exhausting circuit drills that they do. And they have a lot of fun with it. We keep score. It develops a lot of closeness, camaraderie, competitiveness. It's a big piece of who we are, if you couldn't tell, being competitive. But so they do a lot of that. Then early March, we're going to transition into spring ball. That'll carry us into mid-April. And then then we'll hit summer workouts and stuff like that, be ready for August. I think as you look to next season, we open at home in early September. We have a 10-game schedule as of now. We may schedule an 11th game. That's kind of up in the air, but we have 10 games. We will open here at Spartan Field at 7:00 at night, early September against St. Ambrose, kind of a team that we know from going back to our days in the Mid-States. And then we go on the road and play Grandview in week 2, which they're defending national champs. So like I said earlier, we have a front-loaded schedule. So we've got to have guys that are mentally tough, that are ready to go and perform early. And but we will. I think that's the best part about getting a lot of guys back, that they know what it is. They so far, what I've seen is a lot of guys that are hungry for more. They're not just happy with where we are, and that's been awesome to see.
Well, Coach, I'm just going to make one final comment, and that is this in terms of your players and competition. I don't think I've seen as many players so committed to your off-season conditioning program. I've heard great coaches say, including Nick Saban, championships are won in the off-season because you got to put in the work. You got to get bigger, stronger, faster, and all those cliche things.
Yep.
But talk to us a little bit about that, because it does really seem you're getting at the highest level of players really buying in and trying to better themselves each and every day in this offseason.
Yeah, they've been working hard, not just in the weight room. We've got some of our guys working down at D1. We've got some of our guys here at the facility working with Josh Munn. And both groups are working extremely hard.
Yeah.
In the morning we're doing are just getting back in shape type stuff, but they're working hard, working on some speed. And I think this is our time where we're really working on having better running form and, doing those little things. But yeah, they're putting in the work. And, I think the biggest thing is that we're really focusing on is continuing to transition from having a coach-led team to a player-led team, and getting those guys to really start letting their voice be heard more, letting those guys hold guys accountable. But they've done a really good job. We haven't had a whole lot of things where guys got to hold each other accountable. But when we came back, we said, listen, the standard's going to be elevated. It's not going to be the same. It's not going to go backward, because we can't do that. We're going to elevate the standard.
Right.
We're going to elevate the level of accountability from everybody. But so far, they've been putting in that work, and it's got to continue. We've got a long way to go. We Coach Jeff gave us a book, really short, easy book, like Chop That Wood. And that's something we just continue to talk about, right? That you chop that wood and you don't take that thing right to the fireplace. You let the wood dry, you let it age, you let it kind of prepare itself to be burned. And that's what we're doing now. We're chopping the trees, we're chopping the wood, so that come August, we've got stuff ready to go lean on and be ready to go.
Absolutely. So we want to thank you guys all for tuning in here on the Spartan Signing Day show. And our next broadcast, I would be assuming would be sometime around the spring football time. Could be some camp reports there, as well as obviously the spring game. We don't broadcast the spring game, but we do open up to the public, correct?
Yeah. So that the spring game will be April 10th at 6 p.m. right out here on Spartan. That's a Friday. So yeah, that'll be free. It's open to the public. We encourage all of these guys that we just got commitments out, show up, join us on the sideline, bring your family, come out, support Spartan Nation, see what kind of progress has been made in the spring. And, then as soon as that's over, we'll turn our attention to the fall.
Yep. Okay, again, congratulations to the class of 2025, all 36 of you freshmen and 27 of you right here in Missouri. Coach, great job. Seriously, Thanks. Great job. So for Coach B, I am Guy Danoff. We want to thank you for watching all right here on the Spartan Digital Network.